Welcome back to Society Case Files. My name is Robert, and today I want to talk about my Halloween movie extravaganza that I do every year. I've talked about it a little bit before, but I've made some progress, so I'd like to go through some of those. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Otherwise, let's dive right in. I've got the list here, so I'll be checking it, but I started this at the very end of August, and the reason for that was that we sort of anticipate the spooky season to begin when our state fair starts. And this year, Labor Day fell in such a way that the fair began a little bit early. So we watched our first movie on August 28th, and that was The House of a Thousand Corpses. I had actually never seen that one. I only saw the sequel. It was actually kind of interesting. I would not necessarily recommend it to just everybody. I would have to know someone first, and I would have to know that they had no problems with some of the stuff that happens in that movie, because it's a lot. And I don't know if you've seen this Rob Zombie film before, but House of a Thousand Corpses is pretty disgusting, and there is some stuff in it that is completely unnecessary. And I suspect that's sort of the point. If you are a fan of Rob Zombie in general, you might like it. I'm not sure. This was the first movie, if you didn't know. And I'm glad I saw it. And I look forward to seeing more of his stuff now than I have before. I'm almost caught up. I've seen House of a Thousand Corpses. I've seen Lords of Salem, which I actually like quite a bit. And I have also watched most of Halloween. I haven't actually finished that for whatever reason. That's one of those movies that I have such an ingrained feeling about from the original that watching the remake that he did is a little bit much. So I've been having to watch it in segments, which is kind of ridiculous. Anyway, so House of a Thousand Corpses was the first movie of this year's Halloween challenge. The second movie I watched was the first Hellraiser. I picked that up on the 1st of September, and I love the first Hellraiser movie. It's one of my favorites. It's definitely my favorite of the series, with the second one coming in a close second. If you haven't seen it before, it's a little gross, and the ideas behind it are pretty horrifying, but it isn't as bad as the second one in most regards. I'd say that it was probably a more mainstream entry for the most part, because, it played in real theaters, and people had the opportunity to see something out that was just really raw and new. And then going through for the second and the third, I went on a marathon and I watched Hellraiser 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I can tell you that after Hellraiser 3, things start to take a turn for less of the Hellraiser and more of movie that is shoehorned into the Hellraiser universe. I thought that was interesting. I would like to finish the whole series, and then I'll do a more comprehensive video to talk about them. But going through the Hellraisers that quick, watching 2 and 3 in basically one day, and then the other 3 in one day. They're not long movies, by the way. You can get through them pretty quick. They're like slightly longer than a long episode of a TV show. I don't necessarily know that I would recommend them after 2. I'd have a hard time saying that it's worth seeing. The newest one I liked, but after the second one in the chronology of real Hellraiser movies, or should I say the previous Hellraiser movies, they're not that great. Did I enjoy watching them? Yes. But I love terrible horror movies. I don't have a problem with them for the most part. I hold horror movies to a different standard than I do movies that are mainstream. And whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent, it's just how it works. And I'm able to say that movie is great while acknowledging that in the broad scheme of cinematic entertainment, it's actually kind of crap. And even when I do say it's crap, I may have actually enjoyed it. On the 9th of September, we managed to catch The Conjuring 4 in the theater, and I've done a review for that, which you'll be able to watch with the card here. If you want to know what I thought about it, I did have fun, spoiler alert, so any more than that, you will be able to check out the video. And then it took another couple days, but I was able to watch the rest of Wednesday. So Wednesday Season 2, Part 2, I watched the rest of that. And there's a video for that as well, which should be up here for you to check out. So you see what I thought of that. Super fun. Next up, it took almost 2 weeks to get back into movies, and I watched The Ninth Gate. If you don't know what The Ninth Gate is, it's a Johnny Depp movie directed by Roman Polanski. It's based on a book called The Damas Club, and it's interesting because the book itself, the Ninth Gate part, is a very small portion of the story, whereas the book really focuses on this whole lost Dumas serial. The Ninth Gate is kind of a subplot, and they made a whole movie about it, and there's no Dumas in here at all. I love that movie. I think it's super fun, and I had a great time revisiting it. I hadn't seen it in a couple years, and it's always fun to revisit. After that, I watched From Dusk Till Dawn. I watched that on the 26th, and it's funny because I found myself immediately comparing it to Sinners. I want to tell you, I think in pretty much every possible way, Sinners is a better movie. Like, hands down. It's better made. The effects are better. It makes more sense. The monsters are cooler. The way they die is cooler. Everything about it is cooler. And I loved it. Let me tell you that again. I loved Sinners. I would watch it again right now. I'm even thinking about doing so. Yet, for some reason, and I have two theories, I like From Dusk Till Dawn more as an experience. And I think part of that is nostalgia. I saw it when it first came out, and I remember those days, and it was super fun back then to see these kinds of movies in theaters. So I have a nostalgic moment. And the second thing is that I love the TV show From Dusk Till Dawn, and I really did, when they came out with that, did a major comparison between the movie and the show. So I got very invested. I've read the screenplay. I don't know, for whatever reason, From Dusk Till Dawn has a special place for me. That said, again, I'm going to reiterate, Sinners is a better movie, in my opinion, hands down. I just have more fun with From Dusk Till Dawn. After that, I watched the John Carpenter movie, Prince of Darkness. This was sort of I think this slipped under the radar back when it came out. I didn't even see it in the theater, which was crazy. I'd seen everything he'd done in the theater while I was alive. And Prince of Darkness, I didn't. I had to wait for video. It's got a bunch of people from the Big Trouble in Little China. It's got Donald Pleasance. It's got Alice Cooper in a non-speaking role. It's a crazy movie. The basic concept is that the church has been guarding this thing, and while they've been guarding it, it has sort of impacted the people around it. And at this point, it seems like it might be waking up, whatever it is. And so they bring in a bunch of students who are physicists and this renowned professor and a bunch of people to study it and try and figure out, well, what's going on? Do we have the technology to deal with this yet? It's actually a really fun movie. I highly recommend it, but it is a slow burn, and some of it just doesn't make sense. So I'll warn you. Maybe that's why it flew right under the radar. Next up, I watched the Hammer movie called Brides of Dracula. This is a Peter Cushing horror movie. I will say that it is the biggest influence for my audio drama I did called Blood Upon a Time. I loved this movie. It's, pure Hammer schlock. And if you haven't seen it, it's worth seeing. Again, it's called Brides of Dracula. I will include a list of all these movies in the description. So if you are curious to catch any of them, you can. After I watched that, on the very same day, I watched the Rocky Horror Picture Show, both the movie and the TV show that came out in 2016. I had no idea they did that. I enjoyed both for the most part for different reasons. I love the original. I love Tim Curry. He's a favorite. And then finally, on the 28th, I watched the 1931 Dracula, and then immediately followed it up with the 1979 Dracula with Frank Langella. And that is where I'm at. But let's talk about those Draculas for a minute. I was very intrigued by the 30s Dracula because it is so direct. Like, Renfield rolls into Castle Dracula. He's all freaked out. And he pulls out the deed for Carfax Abbey, and he's going through it with him. And then Dracula's like, "We have a boat scheduled for tomorrow." I'm like, dude, what would have happened if nobody would have brought a Dvorak pass? I mean, you would have been right ahead to say, hey, hold the boat, I guess. I don't know. It kind of moves like that. It's really fast-paced. There's a few things in there that feel like they came straight out of the Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes movies. You know, there's the groundskeeper guy who works at the insane asylum with the maid, and they've got some comedic moments. It really does feel like a play. People move to a mark, and then they stand there and they deliver their lines, and then they move to the next mark. There's a great scene when Van Helsing and Dracula have a confrontation where he sees the mirror and it breaks and all that stuff. And a long time ago, before YouTube, I watched a comparison of the 1931 Dracula doing that scene, the 1979 Dracula doing it, and then the Gary Oldman fiasco. And just the styles in how we act and direct and cinematography was so awesome to see. You know, that 1930s one, they got basically 2 cameras to work with there to create that scene. Whereas in 79, we got some cool cuts. We've got a lot more action. People are running around in this room, throwing stuff. Stuff's breaking. People are yelling. They're a lot more passionate. Dude leaps out the window and turns into a freaking wolf and runs off. And in the 31 version, a dude goes over to the window and says, "Holy crap, there's like a wolf running around in that yard over there." Or a big dog, as they say. And then, of course, there's the Gary Oldman version where he's a bat monster standing on a table and his voice is so corrupted you can't even hear what he's necessarily saying. It was very interesting. And I kind of did that when I was watching these Dracula movies. I did my comparison in my head. I love the 1979 Dracula. It's one of my favorites. I like that Frank Langella played Dracula as this sort of noble monster who didn't really think of himself as the bad guy. He's just, some badass dude who, I guess, he's found a way to justify murdering people and turning them into the shambling undead. But there's a lot of really great scenes, a lot of great lines in that movie. It really does feel like a Hammer movie with a different color coding to me. So all around, I have always enjoyed that one, and I recommend it to just about anyone, especially if you haven't seen it. But anyway, that's the first half of the movies already done, and we're just about into October. So I got another 15 to go. I don't even know what they're going to be yet. I haven't planned it out. I just sort of go to the horror section of whatever I'm on and try and find a movie and catch it. So are there any go-to horror movies that you must see in the spooky season? Is there anything that you absolutely love and you just got to watch it again? Or is there something new that you're looking forward to this year? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to check it out. But anyway, this is Robert with Society Case Files, signing off.